Well, good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, September 16th, and we're coming live to you live from the D'Hennis I.S.D. Library. I'm Gary Patterson, Superintendent. This is your must-see TV watching for Wednesday evening at 5:30. This is our latest in a series of webcasts where we try to better communicate with our parents and guardians and community members of our school family during these COVID crisis. We'll continue to try to do a good job, better job of posting our events, procedures, and policies on the web for you to refer to as well. So keep checking our website for updates on those things. And I've had some questions emailed in to us, and we'll get to those a little bit later. I want to encourage you that if you have a question about anything we talk about tonight, or you have a question that you'd like for me to try to answer, you can email Sandra at sexton@DehennisISD.net, and we'll get those. We'll try to set aside some time to answer those questions toward the end. I want to thank Sandra and BJ for helping us out again tonight. We're all able to better communicate because of their willingness to stay and help us get these videos out. So also I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us live on the Facebook page, or listening to us on your phone, or catching us later on YouTube after we post the webcast a little bit later tonight. So we're going to talk about several things tonight, so we're going to jump right in and get started. We're going to talk about our remote learners, and we're going to talk about attendance and accountability with our remote learners. We're going to talk about our notifications that we need your assistance with as we're coming up on the end of the first grading period. I have an update for you on Fall Festival. We want to talk about volleyball and our football ticket procedures a little bit, our process again. I'll have some information on homecoming, and then answer some questions about that have come in regarding masking policies, some cheerleader questions, some elementary computer time questions. So let's get started. First of all, with the opening of school. I want to say thanks to everybody. It takes all of us to have a smooth start, especially in these challenging times. And we want to thank our parents and our students, all of our staff that's worked so hard to make the opening of school go as smooth as it possibly can under these circumstances. And I will say that I think our staff, our parents and students exceeded expectations. We're very happy with the way things have gone over these first opening weeks. For your information, we have approximately 78% of our students that are on campus every day in our classrooms, and we have about 22% that are remote learning at home. So we want to thank our students for their understanding and all their effort they've put into this so far with this new environment, because this, again, it continues to, every day is just something else comes up that we haven't thought about, haven't done before, and it just takes a lot of patience and flexibility, and everybody's been great, whether that's getting used to wearing our mask everywhere, social distancing with their friends in the hallways during passing periods, all of that. Our kids have just done a really, really good job, and we appreciate it. Your teachers are working extremely hard in a very difficult situation. Most districts that are bigger than we are, and when I mean bigger, I mean more students. Well, if you have more students, you have more teachers, obviously. And many school districts who are larger than ours will have teachers that are assigned to just virtual teaching, to teach the kids that are at home, and other students, other teachers that are just assigned to teaching the students that show up in the classroom each day. Well, our teachers here in D'Hennis have to do both, and they have to do both at a high level, and they have to do both simultaneously at the same time. That is not an easy task. In fact, that's a very difficult task, and so it's frustrating at times. And I know we have some technical glitches from time to time. We have connectivity issues. We have students that show up and don't show up, and it's constantly changing, and it's mentally draining. But I just want you to know that the teachers are just pretty darn amazing around our campus, and we're fortunate to have them. They're doing a great job. Our students are are engaged. Certainly in the classes that I've been able to walk through, the kids are engaged not only at their desk in the classroom, but the ones that are on screen are also engaged, and that's been great to see. We're working, as you know, with an imperfect system. There's many moving parts, and it's just not going to work perfectly all the time. We know that our parents are getting frustrated at home, our students and teachers are getting frustrated at times, our administration, everyone. These are unusual. It's not fun most of the time, and it's hard. But in saying that, I also want to say that it's important. It's very important. It's important that we do as good a job as we can possibly do under these circumstances. We need to dig deep and stay positive, both at home and at school. We need to try to look at the glass as half full and feel blessed that we're here, that we're in Dehennis, that we're doing as well as we are, and that we're not overrun with the virus. So we've got a lot of things to be thankful for. Yes, it's a different and difficult time, but we're doing fine, we're doing well. We've got a few complaints, but you know, again, we should be thankful for where we are, how we're doing, and as we work through this together. We have a teacher, Miss Hartner, that's quarantined for 14 days. We feel really bad for her. I'm sorry for her, and that was due to a family member with a positive test. She's working hard from home, and she's just the latest in our faculty that has to quarantine from home, but she went home the first day and immediately got on and started working with her classes. We appreciate her very much and the cooperation that our students have had in her classes as we go through that difficult time. Our remote learners, parents, we need some help. I want to bring you up to speed on a situation or two that we're dealing with, and it's important that our parents at least are aware of what could happen and what the situation is, because again, it's new to us. But it's come to our attention, and we've been trying to work through it as an administrative team, but it's come to our attention that some students may be leaving campus. It could be at lunch, it could be for a doctor's appointment or something else family related, but they may not make it back to school, but they will log on from another location on their Chromebook, either from home or another location.
Got it.
So if you'll follow me for just a second, if you've got a student that is left for an appointment and then doesn't come back to school but logs on somewhere else, you might say, well, what's the big deal if they're not in school but they've logged on trying to be in their class? Well, the big deal is that the parents on a couple of occasions have not known that their student was not at school. And so we're trying to work through a way that we can let our parents know quickly if the student is an on-campus learner and is gone but doesn't come back, because a lot of times we're not going to know what that situation is, whether a doctor's appointment was short, a doctor's appointment was long. Do the parents know that the student didn't come back to school? Do they not know? And so we're just asking for your cooperation. If you know that your student has left campus for some reason, is not coming back, but tries to log on and get on, if you can just notify us. We're going to try to raise a flag somehow, because everything's complicated these days, it seems. So if a student is here in the morning and is present while we're taking attendance and then leaves, the teacher in the afternoon may not know that that student's even been on campus. So when that student logs on, then they might count that student present and not even know that they're not supposed to be on campus, because we might not know that to the end of the day. So again, it's complicated, but what we're going to do is try to find a way. Parents, we need to communicate with each other. We want to make sure that you know where the students are, and we need to know that they're in the right place as well. So if you have that situation come up, give us a call, and we want to talk through that. Okay, remote learners at home. We've had some issues, parents, where students are logging on to a class and then they might not show up the next period, but they may show up 1 or 2 periods down the line. And so there's a gap there. And so if as soon as we know that, of course, we're going to call. But again, that's one thing that we might not know to the end of the day, because the first period teacher might count your student present, but the second period teacher might count them absent. Well, we're not going to know that that's just not normal until the end of the day, when it looks like, oh, they were here first period, not here second period. They were here third, but not here fourth. And so again, parents, we need you to stress at home that the expectation is that they're to log on to every class, every period, and be engaged. And also, you may not know, and the students certainly probably don't know, that each period that student is supposed to be on and not on, then we're not getting funding for that part of that day that student was not engaged. So when we went to remote learning, there's a set of expectations there that we have to report to the state about attendance and accounting. And if our students are not logged on each period as they should be, if they're engaged at home, then we're actually losing money for those periods of accounting. So we need you just to reinforce with your students. We'll continue to do that. As soon as we find out, we're going to be calling you or calling the student and getting right on that. But again, that might not be till later as we're able to review the attendance. So please, if we could have your support with that, we'd greatly appreciate it. We don't want our teachers to have to stop and address these remote issues. Now, another example would be that the student might log on at the first class, but then kind of disappear, maybe to get a snack or to do something else during the course of the period. Well, we don't want our teachers to have to wonder, are they gone for good? Are they coming back? They shouldn't have left, because our teachers also trying to teach class to a group that's in their classroom. So we're still in the early stages of this. We're still working through some of these issues, but we really need your help. We need the students' help to make sure that the expectation is for our remote learners to log on and to stay engaged during that class period. Once again, we want to thank, we had our first football game this past weekend. We've had our volleyball games that have been continuing to go on both here and away. And we want to thank our volleyball and football parents and our band parents and our cheer parents for their cooperation with limited access to games, the wearing of masks and the social distancing. I want you to know that as a superintendent, we really appreciate that. I'm hearing a lot of stories from our friends and colleagues around the area that some people are really struggling with those issues and having a lot of confrontations, and our parents have just not done that, and we appreciate that. We know it's unusual, and I know you want to bring the grandparents and the family members, and we'll get back to that as soon as we can. Is the first possible day we can return to that, we will. But until we do, we just really appreciate your understanding or trying to understand why we have to do some of these things. And so our volleyball's continuing. We'll have another football game coming up, which will be our homecoming game here on the 26th, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But we don't want to be confrontational at these games, and we haven't been because we haven't had to be, because you've done what you've been asked, and really appreciate it. As far as wearing masks and social distancing in the stands, it's just a relief that we don't have to battle that with any of our spectators. Now, homecoming will be coming up a little over a week and a half on Saturday, September 26th. Homecoming will look a lot different this year. Homecoming, I don't have to really explain to you, but homecoming is a time where alumni, families come back and can enjoy a football game, seeing their friends and family they hadn't seen in a while. And this year's just going to have to be different. It's just one of those events that just have to look different as we work our way through this COVID situation. So our homecoming football game will follow the same procedure with the same pass process as the bracket games. We'll need to plan to socially distance in the stands just like we did last time. You did such a great job with that. We'll present the homecoming court, uh, at the game and have the crowning of the homecoming king and queen. And we have some of our parents of the homecoming court don't have students involved in football and band and cheer, and we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to come to the game and see your child participate in the homecoming court. So we'll be reaching out to you, but if you don't hear from us pretty quickly, then make sure you ask your student to get in contact with administration or Miss Macon, and we'll get back in touch with you. Mr. Shue will be back in touch with you. You'll need a pass to come to the game, and we're going to make, of course, we're going to make those arrangements for you to be at the game with the pass to watch your students. We just need to get that organized. So if you're a parent that of a student that does not necessarily have one of the passes to come to the games, make sure you contact the office. We should be reaching out to you, but if you don't hear from us, make sure you give us a call. Give Mr. Shue or Miss Popple, and we'll make the arrangements for you to get to the game. And we'll have a great ceremony at halftime and hopefully have a good football game and enjoy that evening. I've got several questions that are relevant to a lot of what I wanted to talk about tonight. So I think I'll ask some of the questions that have been presented, and because again I wanted to talk about it anyway, and so let's start that process. One of the first questions that's come up several times is why do our volleyball players wear masks while they play when we see other schools that are not doing that? And is that a UIL rule? Well, I want to thank you for your question. It's one I've received several times, and the answer is no, that's not a UIL rule. That's a Mr. Patterson rule, and not one of my most popular decisions. But I talked to the girls yesterday about that again, and I just want to say to the parents of the volleyball girls, they're so good about it. And I appreciate that, but I wanted to give you a little background on why we're doing that. One of our first games this year was at Uvalde, and when we went to play Uvalde, the Uvalde girls were wearing masks as they played, and our girls were not. We hadn't really given that much thought to actually wearing masks while they were on the court playing. Well, the next day, the Uvalde coaches called us, and one of their girls had tested positive. And I think I mentioned at one of the webcasts that when a COVID issue comes up in our district, then I've been communicating with the Medina County Health Department, and Trish has been wonderful, by the way, over there, and just to make sure we're on the same page, that the guidelines that I think we need to follow are the same as the county and the state guidelines. And so it's just someone to bounce our situations off of. And so as we talk through that, because even though one of the Uvalde girls had a positive test, because the Uvalde girls were masked, then we did not, as a group, have to quarantine because of that. And so if you've been to a volleyball game this year, you notice that we're good. we're good. The girls, we've got a lot of talent. They're playing hard. They play together. And I'm telling you, they're pretty darn impressive. And so when you see our team wearing masks while we play and some other teams that are not doing that, our expectation may be a little different for our volleyball team than some other school districts. I mean, our volleyball team is got a chance to be very good this year, and I know that their goal is to make a good run in the playoffs. And if there's an outbreak on another team with a player or a group of players that we're playing against, or if they have a positive test like Uvalde did the next day, as long as we're wearing our mask and wearing them properly, then we shouldn't have to quarantine if that's the case. But if we weren't wearing masks and there was a breakout, I mean, volleyball is different from football. There's no question about that. But there's still girls in close proximity. When girls are trying to go in for a kill and other girls are trying to block the shots, I mean, they're in close proximity with each other. And so I hate to think that there would be a case just because we weren't wearing masks that might cause us to have a quarantine, at a very difficult time. Number one, for our kids' safety, and number two, for our team that has such high expectations this year. So if we can wear masks and be much safer and reduce the percentage of the possibility that we might have to quarantine, then I just think it's a safe thing to do. And the girls have been very good, at least to me, about that. And the UIL district playoff schedule, by district, area, regional, state, they don't stop the schedule for a COVID breakout. That schedule is going to go forward, and if our kids were to have to quarantine at the wrong time, I'd feel really bad about that if I could look back and say, is there anything we could do to keep our kids a little safer from that? So that's probably more than I needed to say about that, but that's why. The question was why? Why do we do that? Why do we make our kids do that? Why do we ask? And so that's why. I have another question here regarding cheerleaders. That why are our cheerleaders away from our football team and our band and our stands while other cheerleaders from other teams are not? That's a good question. The answer to that is we're following UIL guidelines. And the UIL guidelines with cheer say that they need to be masked and they can't be in close proximity to the football team, the band, or the stands. And so I think we can do better than we did at bracket. I think we can move our cheer closer than what they were, and we're going to be working to do that. But that's why, is because that's what the UIL guidelines say, and I'm not going to second guess any other school district in their decisions of where they want their kids to be at certain times, but nor do I want to try to make those decisions for any other school district. But that's why we're doing that, and I assure you that our coaches, our sponsors, our directors, and our administrators, we're all trying to do the best we can under the circumstances that have been dealt us, and I think we can continue to work with cheer and make that a little better situation, get them closer to the action, so to speak, without going around the UIL guidelines. But that's the answer to the cheerleading question about that. Another question is very important that I wanted to talk to you about as parents. What is the deadline for letting the district know if you want to change from a remote learning situation that you might be in now to an on-campus to come back to school? And the deadline that if you are on campus learning and you want to change and go to remote learning, when is the deadline? Well, the deadline's the same, and it's 2 weeks before the end of the 9-week grading period, which on our calendar, this first grading period is going to be Friday, October the 2nd. Now, Ms. Sexton is going to remind me to get that posted, but that by Friday, October the 2nd, the campuses are in the process of getting a letter to go home. We really only need to hear back from the parents who want to change. If you're a remote learner and you want to stay remote for the second 9 weeks, then you don't have to do anything. And if you're an on-campus learner and you're an on-campus parent that's got an on-campus learner and you want to stay on campus, you don't have to fill out any paperwork, make a phone call or anything. If we don't hear from you, we're going to keep you in the same instructional program that you're in right now. But if you want to change, if you're a remote learner and you want to change and come back on campus, or if you're an on-campus and you want to go remote, then we need to know by Friday, October 2nd. The principals will send out reminders and we'll have something posted on the web and get out communication best we can, but keep that date in mind of October 2nd. And why do we ask that be a week or two early? we've got a plan for that as well. If classes are going to be overloaded in the classroom and we can't socially distance, then we've got some decisions to make on how we're going to do that. If it's going to change our meal count drastically, we need to know early so we can order more food so the kids will have breakfast and lunch. And also for transportation, for bus transportation, is that going to impact anything we do with the buses? So we need some time to plan for those issues, and so we would appreciate it. So if you know you're going to change right now and you want to change, go ahead and we don't have to wait till October 2nd. We can go ahead, and we'd appreciate the earlier the better. If you want to go ahead and get in contact with us at our offices, elementary and high school offices, and just let the secretaries or the principals know that you want to change, we'd like to go ahead and get that in the pipeline. I have a question here that's a little premature probably, because I don't have any idea what the answer is. But it's, what do we think the school stance will be when a vaccine becomes available for COVID? And I'm just not prepared to answer that right now. There's a lot that we don't know. We do know that some good news. It looks like there's anywhere from 1 to half a dozen of large pharmaceutical companies and research development companies that are working on vaccines. But until the FDA actually approves one for use and distribution, we really don't know how that's going to work. What I probably know is that there's not going to be 300 million vaccines overnight to vaccinate everybody in the United States of America. So it appears like that'll roll out slowly, and we may not get distribution for large groups of people until well into the spring or even summer. Some people are saying into the summer. So we just don't know. And so what we'll do is we'll wait for the FDA to approve a vaccine, and then we will see what the rollout's going to be to the states. And then we'll wait on some guidance from the governor's office and the Texas Education Agency and our own local health authorities and school boards, and we'll just see kind of how we go from there. But I can tell you from my personal perspective, that's something that I'll be very glad to see, because I do believe that once we get a vaccine that works, that may be the beginning of the end of the COVID virus. At least that's what we will all hope for. But it's certainly not going to happen overnight, so we'll be dealing with some of these issues that we're talking about for quite a while. But I do appreciate you taking the time to submit the question. One question that just kind of keeps popping up, and I hope we've addressed it by now, is, why is the district making elementary children go run outside in the heat with their mask on? So with our elementary PE classes, we meet in the gym during the hot days of late summer and early fall, and then late spring and early summer. We like to go in the gym because there's room and it's air conditioned. Because of having to move some classes around early in this year, we had some classes that actually were large enough we had to meet in the gym for a while. We've since moved those classes out and made some room in other classrooms, so those classes are not meeting in the gym anymore. And so the elementary classes that we're having to go outside and exercise at that time are now back in the gym on really hot days. I don't believe we need to have our students masked while they're outside, elementary students masked while they're outside exercising vigorously. But it is hard to keep it's hard to keep students, period, distance. Elementary school age kids, really difficult to keep them distance. And that was, I'm sure, a reason that factored into wearing the mask. But we will not be outdoor running in the heat with our mask on. We'll make alternative activities going forward with that. So that should not be an issue moving forward. Another question is, that's come up several times is concerned about parents or groups of parents, individual parents, about the time that some of our early elementary school children are remote learners, are concerned about the time that's required of our remote elementary students to be spending on screen time, if you will, from home. That's some of our parents are worried that it's overkill, or it's way too much time that their students are being required to spend on the computer in our virtual learning program. Well, one thing I'll say, it's called virtual for a reason. If we're going to be at home, and I don't mean to make light of it, but if the students are going to be at home, they're just going to, that's the way we are distributing our instructional program is online, remote virtual learning, online learning. And so, yes, the student's requirement is going to be heavy at some times. And we've tried to adjust that, of course, with programs with our pre-K through 2, and then as we get a little older, 3 through 5 and 6 through 12, it's different, but the reason, it's just, if we're going to be at home learning, most of us would agree that the best learning is going to occur with an interaction with the teacher and the students, not just, hey, Johnny, here's your assignment, go do it. That is not what we want our online program to be. We want it to be an engaging process where the students at home are engaged with their students and teachers, with their classmates and teachers, the best we can. And so that's why we've been fairly strict with the requirements on the minutes. Another reason is that the state of Texas and the Texas Education Agency, as an arm of the state, has set out requirements of elementary students from 3rd grade up to be engaged in synchronous learning for 180 minutes a day. And so that is basically four full class periods a day that we have a requirement to have in the instructional synchronous program operating for elementary students for at least that amount of time. And so if we don't do that, then from a state level, then we're not complying with the minute requirement that they have laid out for us. Therefore, it could impact our funding program as we move forward. So like I mentioned earlier in this particular broadcast, this is a far from perfect program. There are little bumps in the road all along the way, and requirements that the district are doing our best to meet while we balance the needs of our parents and our students, and it's just a difficult process. But I wanted you to know, and then I didn't know if you had seen that or we had communicated that about the state requirement of 180 minutes. Now that goes up to 240 minutes a day once the children get into secondary. So, you know, it's just in the spring, I think that our students and maybe some of our teachers, and not our teachers, maybe our students and our parents, you know, when we tried to operate in the spring, it was much more of a project-based learning. We give a project, give some time to work on it, turn it in at a time, and do the best we can. And we did. We did the best we could given the circumstances. Things are different now, way different, and the state's involved, and we've got, not only do we have the minute requirement that we have to meet, our instructional hill that we have to climb this year is extremely challenging. With the time we missed from March 5th until now, and then trying to make up that and then get where we need to get to, it's just tough on everybody. And so we'll continue to try to balance those things out, but I know it's been a concern, but I wanted to tell you what the state requirements were on the minutes per day and why that is in place and why we have to try to abide by those. And I know it's a burden for some. We just got to keep trying to grind it out, find ways to make it better, and possibly if your students are at home and that's too much of a burden, then we're so far, knock on wood here, that we just haven't had the COVID cases on campus, and probably our campus seems to be one of the safest places to be. There's been no COVID exposures or breakouts on campus. The students and teachers that have had to quarantine have been exposed by a family member, mother, father, grandmother, a relative, or a friend that's out of school. We've had all kinds of circumstances, but our students and teachers are doing a great job here. Our custodial staff, our maintenance staff, we're fogging, we're disinfecting every building every day, working hard to keep it clean. Our students and staff are wearing masks all the time, and so if it's just not working out for you for that reason, then consider, calling up and let's talk about coming back on campus, and that might be an alternative for those families who are really struggling, especially with the younger elementary students. And we can talk about the positives about possibly changing that up for you and getting back on campus. I've had some questions about the fall festival, and that's usually scheduled sometime in mid-October, I believe. And we are at this point just not at a place where we're going to be able to do that at this time. So we're going to have to cancel that, or at least postpone our traditional fall festival, because we just had so many hundreds of people. It's so well attended in the courtyard. The way that we have done that in the past is just not going to allow us to do that with any form of socially distancing or protection that we as a school district would be required to do. So I know that that's fun for a lot of people, fun for all the kids and the groups, and it's extremely well attended in the time that I've been here to see that. But at this time, we're going to have to put the brakes on that, and maybe we'll have some more information as things change a little bit later in the fall. Ms. Sexton, have any questions come in?
I have one comment from a parent.
Okay.
Said our Wi-Fi, speaking as a remote parent, our Wi-Fi goes out sometimes for a few minutes, hours, or even a whole day. We're having lots of technical difficulties in my area due to the amount of people using the tower in our neighborhood. It affects the quality of our internet signal.
Okay, I don't know if everybody heard that. You probably did hear that. It was from a concern from a parent about their connectivity. Sometimes it goes out for a few minutes, sometimes it's gone out for a whole day, and might feel like it's due to the heavy access or overwhelming the system during the day. And I know that has come up, and I know how frustrating that is. And so I want you to know we're working on that. We're working on ways. We're actually waiting on some equipment from the county and the state that possibly could make that a little easier for some of you. But that's a process we'll continue to work with over the next month or two. And I hate that that's happening, but I'm not shocked that that's happening, because we knew going in that a certain percentage of our parents and students would have these types of problems. Our teachers have been very good about if we know that if we lost you for a class period or two or a day, that our assignments will be up and posted in our classroom. So if a student is out, as soon as they can get back on, you can look at that work and get that made up. And I know that's not ideal, but that may be the best we can do if you lose connection on your internet for a day, and I'm sorry to hear that.
So far, that is all the questions that I have had.
Okay.
I do have one comment,
okay.
that the form that you mentioned will be sent home for the virtual learners during their packet pickup tomorrow and Friday.
Okay, for the elementary school.
For the elementary. And it's posted on the website for everybody as well.
Okay, so the form for the October 2 deadline will be in your in your packet that you pick up at the elementary school. And again, you don't have to turn anything back into the school unless you're going to change from remote to on campus or on campus to remote. The secondary letter it's posted. Mr. Shu is in the process of getting that together for email. I know we talked about that earlier. And so you'll have opportunities to let us know. But again, if you're satisfied with where you are in your instructional program right now, either on campus or at home, you don't have to do anything, but let us know as early as possible if you're going to change.
Okay, that's all I have so far. BJ, do you have any comments or questions coming on?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, I had several very good questions come in. I hope we got your questions answered. I want to say again how much I appreciate the effort that you make to reach out and at least catch part of this broadcast. We'll continue to do this on a periodic basis or as needed. I thought it was important to talk to you about some of these attendance and accounting issues, especially here after we've been in school for 2 or 3 weeks. And so again, I can't tell you how refreshing it's been to see the students again on campus and give the campus life, and how well they're adjusting to their new normal here at school. And we all look forward to the day that we can get back to some sense of normalcy. And Ms. Sexton, we got a late question that just came in, so we'll see if we can.
They are asking for clarification. Are we able to change virtual or face-to-face now, or do we still have to wait for the next grading period?
Okay. Thank you for that question. I can see where that could be confusing. We are going to wait until the grading period that is October, that starts, can you look, Ms. Sexton, on what the 2 weeks are from the October 2nd? It's the 16th or something, what the new grading period starts?
Yeah, I can pull it up. It's on
Okay.
the website.
So you will still have to wait until that new 9-week start. We're just asking that you notify us early so we can make plans. So yes, you will have to finish out the 9 weeks, this current 9 weeks, which ends on.
It's coming up. My phone's a little slow. October 19th is the first day of the new grading period.
October 19th would be the first day of the new grading period. So that is when, if you're remote, you can start on campus on October the 19th, or if you're on campus, then you would go remote starting Monday, October 19th. So I hope that clarifies that. That's a good question, thank you. So with that, I think, we got something else.
I have a question. If there are football, band, cheer parents that didn't buy all their tickets, can those go up for sale?
The question is, if you're a band parent, cheer parent, or football parent, and you did not buy your tickets, yes, you call the front office, talk to Ms. Popple, or get a hold of Coach Kraft, because we are not reselling those parent tickets. We thought there would be possibly some glitches with this first game where people didn't get the information or whatever, so you will have access to the tickets that are due your family if you're one of those parents. Just get in touch with the high school, please. Thank you. So with that, we're good. Want to say thank you for tuning in, and until next time, we hope to see you around. Let our office know if there's any way we can help, and we appreciate everything so much, and we will see you soon. Thank you.